Welcome to Financial Planning Explained. I'm your host, Mike Menninger, certified financial planner, owner and founder of Menninger and Associates Financial Planning. I'm pleased to be joined today with my guest, Annalisa Smithson, who's the owner and founder, I guess, of Unleashed Counseling. I was introduced to Annalisa, a couple months ago by what would you call Julie? Colleague. Someone who does a lot of stuff for introducing people. And I was fascinated with the business model that Annalisa has. I said, you got to be on my show. This would be cool. So, Annalisa, tell me a little bit about yourself and the business that you started.
Sure. Well, thank you for having me here. So Unleashed Counseling, I'm going to give you my elevator pitch. I've been working really hard on it. We are transforming the culture of mental health by thinking beyond the couch.
All right.
So what does that mean?
So what does that mean?
So people who struggle with traditional talk therapy, maybe they have depression, anxiety, something else going on, and they've tried other therapists. They've tried to sit on the couch and process their problems, and it just doesn't work for them. We take a different approach. So there's two things that are really special about us. The first is that we have therapy animals, and the second is that we have a private nature trail for walking and talking.
Oh, interesting. I never heard of that before. So that's cool. So talk to me about your animals. I'm sorry, you what'd you call them a second ago?
My therapy animals?
Your therapy animals. Tell me about that.
So, well, I'll start by saying we have 9 humans, and the humans are licensed professional counselors or licensed psychologists or licensed.
Nice. Okay.
So we can sit on the couch and do the traditional talk therapy. But we also have 4 therapy dogs who are trained. They're Canine Good Citizens, or they're trained with Therapy Dogs International. And then we have 2 new rabbits who are not trained, but I'm told you can train a rabbit. So we're working on that.
How big are the rabbits? Normal size or super big ones?
Dutch rabbits. So they're kind of small.
Okay.
And their names are Beck and Adler. So any psychology fans that are in your audience are going to get that reference.
All right. Well, I'm not one of them. So
Dr. Beck and Dr. Adler, they're the grandfathers of cognitive behavior therapy and child adolescent therapy.
Interesting. So now you got 9 dogs. Do they have
9 humans, 4 dogs?
I'm sorry, 9 humans, 4 dogs. Thank you for clarifying.
That's okay.
Do the dogs have to go through any type of training for this?
They do, but it's actually more important for the humans to go through the training. So I send my therapists to an animal-assisted therapy program first. And that's because I need the therapists to become experts in their therapy partners. They need to know how does a stressed out dog communicate that it's stressed out, right? So that we can keep everyone in the room safe. So they become canine experts first. They learn how to incorporate the dogs into the therapy process. Then we send the dogs to their training.
All right, so now you have to take me and explain to me how a dog is brought into therapy.
So it's a little bit like play therapy or art therapy in that we don't know necessarily what the dog is going to do when they come into the room and start interacting with us or with our clients. But a really good therapist is going to be able to take whatever's happening in the relationship between the client and the dog and bring it back to the client's mental health goals. So I'll give you some examples. So Benji is a very playful dog. He is not the type of therapy dog that you think of as going into a nursing home or going into a school and just like snuggling. He wants to hang out. He wants to be involved. He's a little bit nosy and he's awesome. So we'll be sitting and talking about something important that is going on for you. And maybe you're feeling a little low or a little anxious. Benji will come over and sit down on your feet. And I'll pause, and I'm never going to assume what's going on for you. But I am going to ask, hey, Benji's sitting on your feet. Like, what's he noticing in you right now? 9 times out of 10, the person is going to say, I'm really anxious right now. I think he's noticing that I'm anxious. I wish I could tell you that I trained him to do that. That is his own special ability.
I was going to ask if the dog knows to do that or if you just take that as an opportunity to ask the question.
Mm-hmm. It's the latter. So I'm noticing, and it's hard, right? Because I'm paying close attention to you and I'm thinking about your mental health goals, your treatment plan, and what you're presenting with right now. I also have one eye on the dog because I'm trying to make sure everyone stays safe, that he's that he's behaving in the way that's normal and appropriate. And then I'm also trying to pay attention to the interaction between the two of you. And I'm trying to bring that back to what matters to you. So there's a lot going on my side, even though I'm sitting there quietly just listening. Benji can be directed, so he's very well trained. So if for example you're coming in and your energy is really low, and I'm thinking, oh, we should probably get up and get moving, I might say to you, do you want to do an activity with Benji? So we might play the gratitude game, or we might pick up the hula hoop and try to teach him a new trick with it, or we might go outside and walk around with them, and Benji will lead that and usually lift up the person's mood so we can get some good work done.
Interesting. Now, do you have to get permission from the patient? I imagine you do, but do they know they're going in with an animal?
Oh yeah, we screen everybody. We always ask about allergies, phobias, and we ask for preferences. Do they want to work with the dogs, the rabbits, or with no animal? It's okay too.
Now, out of all of your patients, how many of them use the dogs?
So animals, the best practice for animals that work is that they should really only work about 3 days a week, about 3 or 4 hours at a time. And I would argue that humans should also only work 3 days a week. So if you do the math on that, they're really only seeing about 30% of our clients because we can't overwork our animals.
Sure. Well, I mean, I just think of being worked. I would imagine that dogs are very friendly animals. I would assume that the 4 dogs you have are, that they're happy to be doing this.
I know. I feel that way too, but I'm trusting the experts in animal behavior. They say that you should not overwork your dog. But I look at Benji interacting with my team and with my clients. I'm like, he wants to be here.
I know.
With me.
That's what I would think.
He gets treats all day long. He can sleep on the couch whenever he feels like it.
Can I be an animal?
You want to get paid in kibble?
That's right. I don't care. It sounds like a really cool...
paid in snacks.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. So what made you come up with this idea? I mean, this is... do you know of anybody? Did someone give you the idea? Did you come up with the idea? Tell me.
Okay, so the way that it started, this was quite a few years ago. I was working at a drug and alcohol clinic, an intensive outpatient program. So the clients come in 9 hours a week. They're doing a lot of therapy. And I had one particular client who was struggling to open up. He was a veteran, and we were starting to form that rapport that you need with your therapist in order to really get the good work done. But we weren't there yet. He was just struggling to open up to me. So that day, my boss had brought her dog into the office. Not a therapy dog, just wanted her dog at the office for the day. It's good to be the boss, right? And Macy followed us into the office to start our session. And this guy, he sits down on the couch, and I shut the door, and I notice Macy's in the room, and I'm like, okay. And she jumps up onto his lap and is facing him. And he started petting her with both hands, just very relaxed into petting her. And he started gazing into her eyes, and his whole story just poured out.
Really?
And I sat there and I shut up. I was like, something really special is happening right now. I'm so not going to interrupt this. And that was when I realized that there was something really special about animal-assisted therapy. I had heard about it, but it was such an unknown. How do you train the dog? How do you get certified? How does it work? I didn't know anything at the time, but I knew that was special. So I took my first class, didn't really get enough information, so I took a second class, and then I found Benji, and the rest is history.
What kind of dog is Benji?
He's a hound mix. So part beagle, part black and tan coonhound.
Is he your dog?
Yes.
He is. Okay, so you happened to bring your dog into it, or did you get Benji for that purpose?
Yeah, I got Benji with the intent that I wanted to train him. And Clover, too. I should mention I had two of the therapy dogs come home with me at night. In both cases, I went out searching for someone who fit the parameters of a good therapy dog. So they love people, they're okay with, they're comfortable with other animals. They have to be at least a year old. I wanted their basic training to already be started so that we could build on it. So lots and lots of criteria, and the universe delivered me 2 perfect dogs.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. But you don't do the training. Do you get the dogs trained already, or do you get them and then they get trained? How does that work?
So far, I have participated in training them. So I work with Dentler Dog Training, a very well-known certified fear-free dog trainer. He's amazing. So plug for Jeff. So he comes in and helps me train the dogs.
That's cool. That's way cool. Now, I would have to imagine that with your 4 different dogs, they all have personalities, and I know that with animals. Do you, by knowing the patient, select the dog for it? And do you usually use the same dog for the patient?
For my clients, I think about the client's personality, but also the goal for the day, and I'll bring in the dog who's appropriate. But I also give the dogs a choice. Like I'll stand at the door at the start of the day and say, "All right, who wants to go to work?" And as long as I know that they're both good for the clients for that day, and it's kind of whoever's most excited to go with me is the one that I take. Now, for the other members of my team, like Dr. Floor and Frankie are a team. So if you're doing animal assisted therapy with Dr. Floor, you're going to get Frankie.
Right.
And the same for like Shannon and Penny. Yeah.
Interesting. And so when you have a patient, do you usually use the same dog every time because they're used to that dog?
I was doing that at first, and then I had a really amazing experience with a client who went back and forth between the dogs, and I realized there is something therapeutic in having the different relationships because my dogs are really, really different.
Yes.
Clover she is the stereotypical sweet snuggly dog that should go in and like hang out with grandma at the assisted living facility, right? Whereas, like I said, Benji is playful and upbeat, and he's going to interrupt the session and he's going to throw his ball at you while you're trying to talk, and it's going to be a totally different vibe. So I've realized because the relationship with the clients can be so different, there's therapeutic value in letting that grow and then exploring the differences. How do you show up differently with different people in your life?
Right.
Same way that happens with the dogs.
Interesting. Now, when you talked about the walking trail, is that walking trail independent of the dogs, or do you always take the dog on the walking trail, or just two different?
Yeah, two different modalities of therapy. So I also have ecotherapists on my team who specialize in using the natural environment to help you reduce your anxiety or process, your trauma. So of course, the trails are great for going out and walking with the dogs and making that a part of it, and also for the dogs when they need bio breaks. It's right there. It's awesome. But yeah, we treat the trail like another therapy room. So if you say to your clinician, "Hey, I really want to try out the walk and talk therapy," they'll just say, "Okay, it's available Tuesday at 3. Let's book that as a room and use it."
So who owns the trail? Is it on your property?
It's on my lease, yeah.
Oh, okay. So it's literally on your property. Okay.
Yeah, it was a big, I don't know, 2 acres, I guess, of just raw land. It was just trees and some deer and a little creek that runs through it. And I said to the landlord, "Can you write that into our lease, make it private to unleash? No one else is allowed on it." He was like, "Do whatever you want, but there's no trail." We hired a landscaper to come out and build a trail through.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Wooded and all?
Yeah.
Or nice.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, I would say so. That's really cool. I'm just fascinated by the whole thing. Tell you what, it's a good breaking point. Let's pick up. We'll pick up and we'll have a short break. We'll be back with you in just a few moments.
Do you keep up regularly with your investments? Where exactly are your hard-earned dollars going? Are you financially prepared for an emergency?
I'm Mike Menninger, founder of Menninger and Associates Financial Planning. We believe that education and knowledge are powerful, and we want our clients to understand why we are making the recommendations that we make. It's your money, and you deserve to know where it's going, because it's not how much you make, it's how much you keep. So call us today to discuss your financial concerns. Welcome back. Here again, still with Annalisa Smithson with Unleashed Counseling. I'm still fascinated by this whole thing, so that's why you're here. So you were talking about a new program where you're allowing people to bring their dogs in. Talk to me about it.
Yeah. So it's called Therapy's Best Friend, a companion animal program. And in the research we did, there is nothing like it out there right now. Very few therapists, no therapists that I know of, will let you bring your own dog into therapy. The reason that we started developing this program is because although you're going to develop a relationship with my therapy dogs and it's going to be a great experience for you, you already have a bond with your dog. Right? There's something really special there. And so many people already report that, hey, when I'm with my dog, I feel less stressed. Like my dog always makes me feel better. And I was like, well, why don't we use that bond intentionally to help you in your mental health journey? So I went to the person that does the dog training for me, And I was like, what do you think about partnering up on this? And he was like, this is a great idea. So the concept, and it's still in the testing phase right now, but the concept is that you come in for 6 weeks or 8 weeks. You and your dog have an individual session with me where we work on some stress management skills, some self-care work, something that matters to you, but that we can do in that short amount of time. And then you come back a second time with your dog and you meet with me and the dog trainer. And now we're teaching you and your dog really specific skills that will lower your stress, lower your anxiety, help you practice self-care. And so far, the testers are loving it.
So are you meeting jointly, like 4 people? You, the patient, actually 3. You, the patient, the trainer, and the dog. All 4 of you concurrently?
Yes. Now there's 2 different styles. There's going to be like an individual track where you can get private care, where it's just like what you described. But then there'll be another track that costs a little bit less, and there we'll have groups. So probably no more than 4 or 5 people plus their dog, the trainer, me, working together.
So I want to understand your business model a little bit. For starters, let's just say you're a counselor. It's covered by Medicare or covered by insurance, correct?
We use commercial insurance, so not Medicare or Medicaid,
Okay.
but any commercial
Well, like your HMOs and your PPOs, whatever they all are.
Mm-hmm.
Fine. Is there an extra charge to have an animal?
No,
So it's the same price.
it is the same price.
What about when you have the trainer in? How does that work?
So Therapy's Best Friend, that program is likely not going to be covered by insurance. Now, I'll make the case to your insurance company. I'll try, but they're probably going to say, no, that's outside the scope of your traditional, therapy.
So how did the insurance companies, how did you sell that to them? I mean, you're almost pioneering this.
Yeah. Well, you heard me say in the beginning, I was very careful to say we are licensed therapists. We can do traditional therapy. That's because when we're submitting a claim to your insurance company, that's what we're focusing on. Yes, they can see that there's animal assisted therapy also happening, but the base work of person-centered therapy, CBT, narrative, the stuff that they want to cover, we're doing that with the add-on of the animals.
Right. Okay. So there's really no difference. You're doing the counseling session. It's just you're using a partner in the dog
Exactly.
to be able to help you accomplish the goal.
Yeah.
And I got to imagine that going to see the therapist as the patient, it's almost fun to go.
Yeah.
It's a different experience.
I agree with you. Yeah. We make therapy more fun. I wish I could graffiti that across my building. Like therapy doesn't have to suck. Right?
Or sucks less.
Right.
So I'm still fascinated by the whole thing. Now, how are you going to work bunnies in? I mean, I could see cats.
Yeah.
The reason why, as well as fish. Now, I've heard that having fish in your office is good because there's a calming effect associated with the fish swimming. I also understand that petting a cat is therapeutic in itself. Have you considered cats?
We did, yeah. Before we got the bunnies, we actually did like a survey of all of our clients plus visitors to the office. Would you rather see a cat, a bunny, a rat? I think there was and a chinchilla. And actually, I would have loved to have the rat, but the bunnies.
A rat?
Won. Yeah, rats are so cool. They make great therapy pets. But yeah, so we considered it, but bunnies were what everybody wanted.
Well, when you referenced the rat in therapy, if you had me holding a rat, chances are I'm going to need therapy. So it's
some exposure therapy.
Yeah, there's something, you're going to make me want therapy after holding a rat. I'm not sure about.
Well, luckily there's no rats in the building, but there are bunnies. So it is definitely different than canine assisted therapy. Rabbits they're prey animals, right? They're very cautious. They hesitate to walk up to you.
Yeah.
Now, these bunnies have been handled since the day they were born. Right?
Sure.
They're used to humans, but they're still cautious. They wait for you to sit down and hold out a piece of food before they run up to you. And that cautiousness, think about if someone has experienced trauma or someone has social anxiety and they sit down and I sit down, and the rabbit, it's just quiet, it's calm. The rabbit slowly comes up to you. Think about all of the conversation that could come out of that. Well, what's it like for you when you meet someone for the first time? And what do we need to do to make you feel safe when you're in a new environment? Right? So it's all about the skill of the therapist to
Yes.
pull out what appears to be happening between the two of you.
Well, that's interesting because it promotes the opportunity for you to begin the session or take it in a different direction, etc.
Yeah, very astute, right? So I don't have to wait for you to tell me a story. I can see the interaction and I can draw out a story.
Well, that's a skill in itself. I wouldn't be good at that skill.
I bet you could be taught.
Maybe. Now, I understand you were saying earlier that you're considering franchising this.
Yes.
Now, first of all, let me ask you, do you know of anybody doing this? You must. You said that there's classes on it, so somebody must be doing it.
Franchising mental health or doing
Just
animal assisted therapy?
Animal assisted therapy.
Yeah, there's a couple of folks in our areas that I will refer out to. Like if a client for whatever reason doesn't want to come to Unleashed or doesn't make sense for Unleashed, I do know like 2 other dog assisted therapists and a ton of horse assisted therapists that I can refer out to. So yes, it does happen, but but it's also rare.
Yeah. Okay. But you reference franchising it. You're franchising what? The idea of animal assisted therapy? So how would you franchise it? It sounds to me to be more of an idea. But you said you already met with an attorney on this. Tell me about it.
So let's back up a minute and talk about just therapy, the business of therapy.
Yes.
There are so many excellent clinicians. You have to have a master's degree or a PhD. You have to be licensed in your state. You have to take a brutal exam that looks across 9 different dimensions. I mean, like, in order to become a therapist, you have to be really, really well educated, right? The one thing that is missing from every single program out there is how to run a business.
I'll give you that.
So there are all these excellent clinicians that are saying, like, I don't want to work for the community behavioral health agencies or the hospitals where I'm not getting a good salary, where I'm overworked, I'm overloaded with clients, I get compassion fatigue, and then I end up leaving the field. That's what's typical. Instead, I'm going to start my own practice. But then they have no idea how. How do you network with an insurance company? How do you submit a claim? How do you find the right space? Find your special sauce, like the animal assisted therapy. So what I want to do is perfect my model and then create the blueprint that I can then hand to these new therapists and say, like, here you go. Right now you can be successful, do what you love, and make it a lifelong career.
As a business model, as a therapist, or as a business model for the animal assisted?
Animal assisted
Yes.
therapist.
Okay.
Yes.
So what I look at it, thinking business, is if I can't get additional monies from being able to use the animals, then the animals need to provide additional value. So the additional value would be in its uniqueness to draw more patients in.
Yes.
But by the way, they're a write-off too.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
I know
They
I
sure
would.
are.
So you get to take care of your dog, and now you get to write your dog off.
Yeah.
That is awesome. And you get to go to work with your dog every day and everything else. That has its own neat things to it. But so when you're franchising, do you then provide some form of the financial training, such as how to bill the insurance companies, how to find a spot? Do you train for that as well?
We will, yeah. And when it's time, and I have a plan, and it is a long-term plan, but when it's time to like fully launch the franchise, I will work with a franchise expert, to figure out, okay, what exactly, I already have my SOP, but my standard operating procedures, but what else do they need? And yes, they're going to need help finding locations. They're going to need to understand the insurance piece of it. That probably will be a whole nother book that I have to write for them. And my approach to franchising is that I want to use a cohort model. Not something that other franchise companies do, but it is the way that therapists think and learn. So each year I'll open it up and say, okay, 20 franchise opportunities are available with Unleashed Counseling. I want you to apply, and those who are selected start all at the same time, and we'll treat it like a cohort.
Now, would you be dealing with just southeastern Pennsylvania, or are you going to be branching out all around the country?
Why not go big?
I see no reason. The only thing that I would say is that if you stayed local, now you're creating competition. So, but have you weighed out the business outlook? For instance, typically the way franchises work is they typically will pay you up front a finite dollar amount, $20,000, $50,000, or $100,000, depending on what it is. Then you get a certain percentage of the revenue. Have you ever thought of how much it's going to cost you to do and whether it's worth it financially to you for franchising?
Yeah, sure. I've got a complicated spreadsheet that I go back and play with periodically as things change. Franchising Unleashed Counseling is not going to make me a millionaire,
right?
But it is going to do something really important for the business of therapy, for my field and for my colleagues. There are probably other ways that I could become wealthy with my ideas, but yeah. Well, and I want it to be a low barrier, right? So I know that people just graduating with their master's in counseling or social work, they don't have $300,000 to sink into, franchising a business. So I'm going to keep it low barrier.
Well, that's good. Well, the other thing too is that I would think the hardest thing with any practice is to get clients. And I would imagine that this is the unique difference that helps an individual to get patients or clients faster than any other therapist.
I've never had a problem getting clients, and that is partly because of the animal assisted and the nature-based piece of it. It's also, unfortunately, a reflection of where we are as a society. Mental health is badly needed right now.
Mainly because of COVID, or always was?
It always was, but COVID, one of the things that came out of COVID is that people started to really embrace, just say, okay, I can ask for help. I'm lonely, I'm isolated, maybe it's okay to call a therapist. And happily that stuck after we re-entered, after COVID and we re-entered society, people continued being willing to call and ask for help. So,
well, that's good.
Yeah, that part's good.
Well, my thing is, the best thing that came out of COVID is the ability to hold Zoom appointments.
Yes.
I never had one before.
Yeah.
Not that I prefer to meet in person, obviously, but that was our benefit of Zoom. Do you meet only in person, or do you ever do video appointments?
We'll meet our clients where they're at. If they want to do virtual therapy, we can do that. If you want to get the benefit of interacting with the animals or walking on the trail, you'll want to come in. But some people just aren't there, and so I would say virtual therapy is more of a traditional talk therapy, and we'll accommodate.
Yeah, same with us. I could accomplish through video, but it's not the same as a personal interaction. And I have to imagine, particularly in your business, it's more so that way. So, believe it or not, our time's up.
Okay.
Fastest 30 minutes of your life, probably. Is there anything else you want to share, talk about it?
No, I think we covered everything. Thank you.
All right, perfect. Well, you know what? I'd like to do, take a peek in the camera and tell people your name and how they can get a hold of you.
Okay. I'm Annalisa Smithson, and I'm the founder and director of Unleashed Counseling. The best way to reach us is to go online, unleashedcounseling.com, click schedule an intake. You don't have to do any phone calls back and forth. You can get right on the intake coordinator's calendar and meet with one of us.
Thank you very much. That was awesome. That is just, it's a really cool business.
Thank you.
And I certainly wish you the best with establishing the franchising. It's not an easy thing to do. It's a big leap, but I would imagine that you may have opportunities to also speak at different events. Have you done that before?
I love speaking at events, yes.
As do I. Yeah. As do I. So, well, thank you very much, Annalisa. That was great. I hope everybody learned something new. I know I certainly did. I think this is really cool. And thank you for taking the time, and hope you have a wonderful day and a wonderful week.